am truly speechless. I am absolutely astounded. I have seen lots of people both online and real life talk about how incredibly gay this movie is. And as someone who grew up watching the Barbie movies, I thought to myself, analyzing that movie through a queer lens, that would be a fun YouTube video. I think I severely underestimated how gay this movie actually is. So let's talk about that. It was common in the 80s and 90s for toy brands to release TV shows or short specials about their products. People who were familiar with the toy brand would watch the show, and people who watched the show would buy the toys. It was a never-ending cycle. Think of shows like G.I. Joe, My Little Pony, Transformers. Point is, it was an incredibly smart marketing strategy that made toy companies a shit ton of money. And all sorts of companies wanted in, with Mattel and Barbie being no exception. In 2001, Mattel released its first hour-long commercial, its first full-length feature film, Barbie and the Nutcracker. The film was actually fairly successful, or at least successful in terms of toy brands making movies, and more Barbie movies went into production. By 2008, only 7 years after the original Barbie movie was made, Mattel released the 13th movie in the franchise. Barbie and the Diamond Castle would go on to become a fan favorite, and honestly, for good reason. The characters have fantastic chemistry, the story is fun and heartfelt, and the music slaps. However, it wasn't long before people started realizing that something a little fishy was going on. The girls' relationship was almost a little too intimate. The looks they shared were a little too longing. The colors of their dresses were just a little too familiar. They're gay. People think they're gay. And to be completely honest, yeah, I get that. Now, to be completely clear, canonically, Liana and Alexa are nothing more than really good friends, and I know that. I'm not here to tell you that Mattel purposely put them in a closet made of glass. Queer people find comfort in this movie, and they are perfectly allowed to. Like I've said before, when we aren't given representation, we are forced to find that representation elsewhere, even if that means overanalyzing stories and characters in an attempt to feel represented by the media we consume. I don't think Mattel purposely made these characters gay, but I do know that when I was a little kid who didn't understand the complexities of my identity, I was able to look at Barbie and the Diamond Castle and see a future for myself where I could run away and live with a girl. I remember seeing this movie as a little kid and being so excited to grow old with my best friend. It wasn't until I was much older that I realized that these feelings were caused by my queerness, but when I was a little kid, I found comfort in it all the same. Alexa and Liana being gay is just my interpretation. We're allowed to interpret a piece of media different ways. That being said, I think Liana and Alexa are the OG cottagecore lesbians, and I have this undying urge to talk about it. Let's get started. The film opens as our two main protagonists, Alexa and Liana, sing a song about how much they mean to each other while picking flowers from their garden. Liana is played by Barbie, and Alexa is played by Barbie, but with brown hair. The girls sell flowers for a living, residing in a cottage in the woods. Truly the quintessential cottagecore experience. The song they're singing is titled Two Voices, One Song, and serves as a transition from the real world to the fantasy world. The mass majority of the movie is actually a story that Barbie is telling her little sister, with the characters of Alexa and Liana being self-insert characters for Teresa and Barbie. Two Voices, One Song is basically a romantic duet about how much they mean to each other. They sing about how if they could wish for anything in the world, they would wish to see the other one smile. How they want to spend their lives together and cannot imagine a future without each other.
Together we dream the same dream. Wherever I'm here for you, you're here for me. Oh, oh, two voices, one song.
Two Voices, One Song is a metaphor, and a pretty on-the-nose one at that. It represents the idea that both of these girls are one half of a whole. They're better together and would be incomplete without each other. And the idea that they belong together and belong in each other's lives is a core theme throughout the entire film. With all of that being said, it is incredibly easy to interpret Alexa and Liana's relationship as being romantic. They live alone together in their cottage in the woods with the implication that they plan to live together forever. Anytime the girls fantasize about a better life or a more prosperous future, it's a given that they would spend that life together. Their fantasies are littered with words like we, us, ours. They dream about the perfect future but can't have the perfect future without the other one by their side. Even when they mention princes, it's always implied that they would still be with each other, and the hypothetical princes are treated more like accessories than future love interests. Something that fits into the vibes of being royal, but not necessarily something they're dying to have. Ladies, is it gay to run away and live in a cottage in the middle of the woods with your bestie while singing songs about how you love each other more than anything in the world? Not to mention that they act incredibly flirtatious with each other. They have adorable banter and a slew of inside jokes.
Then it's your night to do the dishes.
What?
My dream come true.
You know, Liana, I also believe in witches. Evil witches who chase unsuspecting girls with soapy dishcloth. Unlike us, we have bread and jam.
And jam and bread.
Not to mention that, especially in the opening scenes before the stakes rise, it feels as if they can't even look at each other without smiling. It's so cute! It's no secret that Liana and Alexa don't have the easiest lives. They're poor, struggling to afford enough food to survive, and yet they remain pleasantly optimistic, because in their minds they have everything they need, each other. Again, Liana and Alexa are not canonically queer, but I can understand why so many queer people, specifically queer women, are drawn to this story. And I think part of that is because it's such a domestic one. Queer relationships are incredibly sexualized in the mainstream media. Some of the most popular queer films are currently under fire for fetishization, over-sexualization, and on-set abuse. But here's the thing. Being queer is not inherently sexual. Yes, sex is a big part of queer culture, but a woman being in love with another woman is not inherently more sexual than a woman being in love with a man, despite the fact that that's often how it's portrayed in mainstream media. And I think that's a big reason why queer people are drawn to this movie in particular, but honestly, I think this could apply to children's media in general. It's a place where if they find their queerness being represented, even if it isn't being represented on purpose, that representation is going to be incredibly domestic. This isn't to say that sex and sexuality is a bad thing. That's obviously not true. What I am saying is that being queer is so much more than just sex. We don't often get purely romantic stories. We don't get stories of queer people who are already out, proud, and in healthy relationships. We don't get stories of queer people living a domestic life together. But if Barbie and the Diamond Castle was explicitly queer, it would have checked all of those boxes. A romantic story of two openly queer women happily living a domestic life together, it's the type of representation that we don't see very often. So it makes sense that when we find a story that is so close to giving us that, we latch on to it. When the girls are finished singing, Liana finds 2 stones in a river near their cottage. Ladies, is it gay to find 2 heart-shaped stones that encourage you to vow to spend the rest of your life loving and caring for your bestie? The girls love each other. It's honestly as simple as that. Now, the necklaces and the stones they're made of actually have a much deeper meaning and a huge significance to the plot. The Barbie wiki page says that the necklaces are supposed to represent their friendship, but throughout the film, it is constantly implied that Liana and Alexa have a special kind of friendship, maybe a gay one. They have a deep and meaningful connection, and they seem to prioritize each other over everything else. And if you don't believe me, they sing an entire song about it.
I feel connected, protected. It's like you're sitting right with me all the time. You hear me, you're near me, and everything else is gonna be alright.
And sure, they could just be gals being pals, but we'll talk about that later. I think it's way too easy to read their relationship as romantic. Liana surprises Alexa by turning the stones into 2 matching necklaces. Cough, cough, because her love language is giving gifts. And Alexa happily puts hers on, claiming that they're the perfect match.
The perfect match.
This would be perfectly hetero, or at least as hetero as making a matching heart-shaped necklace for your bestie can be, if it wasn't for the fact that the necklaces are so obviously supposed to represent the 2 girls. Alexa saying the necklace is a perfect match is so much more than her liking that the necklaces look similar. It's also her implying that the girls themselves are a perfect match. Alexa and Liana complete each other, and they fit perfectly into each other's lives. And this isn't just a metaphor that I'm coming up with. This is a metaphor that is actively explored explored throughout the course of the film. The necklaces are a physical manifestation of the girls' love for each other, a love that literally protects them from evil and literally dying. We learned from Melody, the girl trapped in the mirror, about something called the Diamond Castle. It's implied that the necklaces the girls wear come from the Diamond Castle and therefore have magical properties, something that is later confirmed when Lydia, the film's main villain, tries to curse them. Now let's remember, within the context of the film, the necklaces are able to protect Liana and Alexa because they come from the walls of the Diamond Castle, but the necklaces also directly represent the two girls' love and care for each other. So when you put both of those things together, it is Alexa and Liana's love for each other that protects them from evil. The driving force throughout the entire story is Liana and Alexa's connection. It's what gives them power over evil forces and protects them from Lydia's spells. It's no coincidence that the girls are in their most vulnerable state when they're separated from each other. Towards the climax of the film, Liana and Alexa stumble across a mansion in the woods. The girls are tired and hungry from their journey and decide to test their luck. Liana and Alexa are told that the house and everything within it belongs to them, that there was a prophecy and that the people living within the house were just taking care of it until the girls arrived to claim what was rightfully theirs. This results in the two girls fighting. Liana wants to abandon the house and fulfill the promise that they made to Melody, continuing the search for the Diamond Castle. Alexa wants to stay. They've been poor and hungry for too long, and she doesn't understand why it's their responsibility to risk their lives for someone they barely know. It seems like a fairly normal fight until...
You're choosing Melody over me.
No, it's not like that.
And that is when it starts to feel more like a breakup, and not a friend breakup, a romantic breakup. Suddenly, we realize that this is a lot more than a difference in opinions. Alexa's jealous. She feels like she's being replaced by Melody, and that makes her really upset. She's supposed to be the most important person in Liana's life, but she's starting to feel like she isn't anymore. For the first time in their lives, the future that Liana and Alexa have envisioned for themselves is right before their eyes, and Liana wants to abandon that to keep a promise to a girl that she just met. Of course, Alexa's upset. She feels like she's being replaced, and she's absolutely shocked when Liana decides to actually leave. Not only does Liana leave, but she takes one of the kids. It's like she never thought they could actually part. She gets so angry she rips off her own necklace, the necklace that symbolizes her love for Liana. It reads exactly like a breakup scene. If one of these two girls was a guy, it would be a breakup scene, and none of them handle it very well. But it's actually Liana's reaction that really stands out to me. Liana feels like she's missing her other half, someone she cared deeply for and was supposed to spend her life with.
She's been with me through the best and worst times of my life. She knows me better than anyone else in the entire universe. I feel like a part of me is gone.
Her reaction feels like someone mourning the loss of a romantic partner. She's losing the most important person in her life. Of course, their separation doesn't last long, with Liana needing to save Alexa, who, without her necklace, is under Lydia's control. At the last minute, Melody convinces Lydia to stop in exchange for access to the Diamond Castle, and then Slider pushes them off a cliff. For a second there, I really thought Mattel was about to whip out the bury your gaze trope. Damn, Mattel, this isn't supernatural, this is a children's movie. But no, Liana hulks out and she ends up saving them. She then proceeds to cradle Alexa in her arms as she mourns the death of her friend. It isn't until Liana puts Alexa's necklace back on, which, let me remind you, represents their love for each other, and reiterates how she wants to be there for Alexa for the rest of her life, that Alexa wakes up.
Best friends. Today, tomorrow, and always. Liana?
They decide to go save Melody together.
But how? Together.
The girls are quite literally saved by their love for each other. They are saved by their love for each other. A love that is more powerful than spells and magic and evil. If Liana and Alexa were a man and a woman, this would so obviously be a romantic scene. It's as close as we can get to the true love's kiss trope without them actually kissing. One of the themes of Barbie and the Diamond Castle is that Liana and Alexa's love for each other and the connection they have is the greatest thing in their lives. That a future of abundance isn't worth it if they aren't sharing that abundance. And and that staying by each other's side is the key for their own happiness. It feels so obvious. Of course it's a love story. It's a story about two girls living together and planning a future together only to be ripped from their day-to-day lives and thrust into adventure. It's hard and scary, but they're safe because they have each other until they don't. Their relationship is tested, but eventually they realize that they can't live without each other and that their relationship and connection is more important to them than anything else. That's the plot of the movie. That's a love story. That is so obviously a love story. Ladies, is it gay to save your bestie purely through the magic of your love for each other? But Aiden, what about Jeremy and Ian? Obviously, Alexa and Liana are in love with the boys, duh. Which, to that I say, are they? Because I don't think they are. In fact, I would go as far as to say that the boys have literally no chemistry with the girls. In fact, to better reiterate my point, here's a compilation of the girls having no interest in the boys at all.
One girl fair and pretty, and one a dark, one wearing orange.
Far be it from us to spoil a happy reunion. Come on, Alexa. They were really cute. You have to be kidding.
Not late, am I?
Not yet. Go, go, go!
Those boys? They'll give you indigestion.
What's wrong with that picture? Everything.
It's very obvious that Jeremy and Ian are into Liana and Alexa, but it is never once stated that the girls share any sort of mutual attraction to them. They don't wait for them in the bar. They abandon them basically every chance they get. One of those times literally includes them floating away from the two boys on a rainbow. I know that wasn't intentional, but the idea of these two lesbians floating away from these men who are interested in them on a literal rainbow is the fruitiest thing I've ever seen in my life. At the very end of the movie, they dance with the guys, but then they give up the castle and everything that comes with it so that they can go continue to live alone together in the woods. I don't think these characters ever really had chemistry, but I do think there's reasons why people think they did. Is that the boys obviously liked the girls. Jeremy and Ian make multiple attempts to swoon the girls. They fail every single time, but they make the attempts. In a Barbie movie, when a boy pines for a girl, they usually end up together. So obviously people see this and they're like, oh, they're romantic partners. But the girls reject them every time. We live in a society where deep, intimate connections between two girls is considered normal, and deep, intimate connections between two men isn't. So this puts us in a really weird space when it comes to analyzing pieces of media through a queer lens. Two guys can make eye contact with each other for longer than 3 seconds, and suddenly you'll have tons of articles and fan theories about these characters secretly being in a gay relationship. Girls can practically make out on screen and people will still think they're just good friends. Gals being pals often makes it really, really hard for queer women to be validated. And this movie is a great example of that. Ian and Jeremy talk to the girls a few times, and they dance with each other at the end. So we're supposed to believe that they are the romantic pairings this movie's going with. Liana and Alexa live together, sing songs about how much they love each other, have matching heart necklaces, save each other with their own love, and abandon a castle and royalty so they can continue to live a domestic life together. But they're just friends, right? There's a reason why boy characters are so much more likely to be interpreted as queer than characters who are girls. Because no matter how explicitly queer a relationship between two girls is, that's always just going to be seen as the norm between two friends. I think a romantic interpretation of these characters is incredibly valid. Even if you think their connection is purely platonic, that connection is so much stronger than the connection that they ever had with the boys. So in conclusion, I think Barbie and the Diamond Castle is gay because they live a domestic life together. They're planning a future together. They wear matching heart-shaped necklaces. They look at each other like they could find the entire world in each other's eyes. They have hilarious romantic banter. Their love for each other saves them from evil. They abandon a future of wealth, royalty, and riches so they can continue to live peacefully and domestically together. They float away from boys on a rainbow. Barbie and the Diamond Castle is a perfect example of a story about love. That so little things are worth it if you don't get to share them with someone that you deeply care about. I think it's a beautiful story and I'm really happy that so many queer people are able to find comfort and representation in it. With that being said, do you like Barbie and the Diamond Castle? Do you agree with my interpretation? I'm really looking forward to reading some of your comments down below. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye!